Lin Dong gave up all of his spiritual energy, which left many of the powerful beings around him slightly surprised. However, they all understood that the Heavenly Supreme level was unlike any previous tier. The power controlled at this level wasn't limited to just spiritual energy. Since his divine soul had already transformed into the Heavenly Soul, all the forces of heaven and earth within a certain range had fallen under the control of a Heavenly Supreme expert. Therefore, even without spiritual energy, a Heavenly Supreme expert could easily suppress an Earth Supreme expert at the peak of their level. Nevertheless, most of the onlookers felt that Lin Dong's act of abandoning his spiritual energy was somewhat dismissive of Elder Hua Mu. However, a few perceptive individuals noticed that Lin Dong wasn't even concerned with Elder Hua Mu. In fact, the moment Lin Dong relinquished his spiritual energy, he gave off a far more terrifying aura. Clearly, Lin Dong was preparing to use a power far more formidable than spiritual energy. Under the gaze of everyone, Lin Dong finally took a step forward. He then raised his palm and struck at the space beside him. "Heh, the sacred drum method? Here it comes," Elder Hua Mu said excitedly, observing Lin Dong, who had given up his spiritual energy and was striking at the space with his palm. Hua Mu had fought against the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign multiple times in the past. Although the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign had never taken the battle seriously, Lin Dong's actions were clearly preparing to unleash the sacred drum method, just like the Heavenly Sovereign. As Lin Dong's palm struck out, Elder Hua Mu smiled. He raised his own hand and then suddenly grasped at the void. With a single grip, Elder Hua Mu commanded a power that controlled the forces of heaven and earth, instantly freezing the space within a 10,000-mile radius. This freezing effect was so profound that even an Earth Supreme expert couldn't distort it. Lin Dong's earlier strike collided with the frozen space. Boom! The sound of space shattering echoed through the heavens and earth. Lin Dong's expression shifted slightly. His strike hadn't turned the space into a drum membrane, as he had intended. Instead, because the space had been frozen, his palm simply shattered the space ahead of him. Lin Dong, who had shattered the space, slowly raised his head. His eyes narrowed slightly. Indeed, Elder Hua Mu was no ordinary opponent. He was clearly an expert who understood the weaknesses of the sacred drum method. As a technique that harnessed all the combat energy of heaven and earth, the sacred drum method required a drum surface to form. This could be anything in the world, even space. Lin Dong had gotten used to using space as the drum surface. From Elder Hua Mu's reaction, it seemed that the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign also used space as the drum surface. Therefore, Elder Hua Mu's method of freezing and locking the space was specifically to counter the sacred drum method. After Lin Dong's failure to execute the sacred drum method, Elder Hua Mu grinned and once again raised his palm, striking forcefully towards Lin Dong. In that instant, the heavens and earth within 100,000 miles trembled. Lin Dong then saw the space above him distort, forming a gigantic palm several thousand meters tall, which descended directly upon him. The force of this strike was equivalent to the full power of an Earth Supreme expert at the peak of their level. The surrounding powerful beings all broke out in a cold sweat for Lin Dong. However, those on the edge of the four profound continents, such as Yin and the others, remained calm, knowing that Lin Dong would easily handle it. "Heh, you gave up your spiritual energy and even failed to activate the sacred drum method. Let's see how you block this." Elder Hua Mu laughed as he watched Lin Dong trapped beneath the giant palm of frozen space. But the next moment, Lin Dong's actions caused his grin to falter. Facing the descending giant palm, Lin Dong's eyes narrowed. He then thrust his palm forward, and in that instant, millions of purple-golden dragon runes surged out from within him, gathering into a massive true dragon seal. It collided with the giant palm above. Boom! The two terrifying forces collided in the sky like meteors crashing into one another. In the end, both forces vanished into nothingness, leaving behind a devastated and shattered dark void. The residual shockwaves completely unraveled the frozen space that Elder Hua Mu had created earlier. True Dragon Clan's power? You actually possess the true dragon's power. Elder Hua Mu exclaimed in astonishment. He hadn't expected Lin Dong to possess such mastery over physical strength, especially the true dragon power. That level of intensity was probably already on par with the Dragon King level. When did the true dragon clan allow outsiders to cultivate the true dragon's power? Whoosh! As Elder Hua Mu stood stunned, a figure surrounded by purple golden light shot through the sky with terrifying speed, appearing directly in front of him. How fast? Seeing Lin Dong appear in front of him, Elder Hua Mu's expression changed, and he immediately activated the vast forces of heaven and earth, transforming them into torrents that swept toward Lin Dong. Lin Dong, however, did not hesitate and struck out with a punch. Boom! Lin Dong's dragon fist, infused with the power of the true dragon, directly sent the torrent of heavenly forces flying. At the same time, Elder Hua Mu took the opportunity to retreat, once again channeling his spiritual energy and the forces of heaven and earth to bind Lin Dong, fully aware that his physical strength was no match for Lin Dong's. Thus, he naturally chose not to clash directly with Lin Dong. Boom, boom, boom. In the vast sky above the chaotic demon sea, a series of massive explosions echoed, as the rampaging forces of heaven and earth wreaked havoc across the entire space of the chaotic demon sea. In the center of this shattered space, Lin Dong and Elder Hua Mu were locked in a fierce battle. Elder Hua Mu used the nearly inexhaustible forces of heaven and earth to his advantage, while Lin Dong relied entirely on the formidable physical strength granted by the true dragon's power. At this moment, numerous powerful beings from the distant horizon were left in awe. They would rarely witness a true heavenly supreme expert engage in battle. Therefore, the clash between Elder Hua Mu and Lin Dong was something no one wanted to miss. They now fully understood the terrifying power of a heavenly supreme expert. The forces of heaven and earth that Elder Hua Mu commanded could easily obliterate all life on a continent if unleashed upon it. Lin Dong, on the other hand, was even more terrifying, as he was relying solely on his physical strength. The power of the true dragon clan was so immense that Lin Dong could face off against a lower, heavenly supreme with just his body alone. No wonder they were considered one of the two strongest clans in the myriad spirit divine clan, able to rival ancient clans like the Futu God clan and Emoku God clan. It's no wonder the martial ancestor can single-handedly challenge the Ice Spirit clan. His physical strength has reached this level, said the ancestor of the myriad seas, who had retreated to the edge of the chaotic demon sea, his eyes wide in astonishment. If Elder Hua Mu hadn't shown up, the martial realm would likely have unified the wandering realm soon. On the edge of the four profound continents, many martial realm experts were also struck with astonishment, but this shock quickly turned to excitement. They were thrilled by the immense strength of the martial realm leader, martial ancestor Lin Dong. Inform everyone, immediately activate the continent's protective formation. Just as the martial realm experts were filled with excitement, Yin suddenly shouted, "But the battle doesn't seem like it will affect the continent. Why activate the protective formation?" Some martial realm experts were confused by Yan's order. In response to their confusion, Yin replied directly, "Activate the protective formation immediately, because neither my elder brother nor Elder Hua Mu has used their full power yet, but that moment is almost upon us." Upon hearing Yan's words, several Earth Supreme experts like Diao and He Luo King nodded in understanding. They could clearly see that both parties had yet to unleash their full strength. The other martial realm experts, hearing this, were once again struck with awe and immediately rushed to various locations across the four profound continents, preparing to activate the protective formation. Boom! Another earth-shattering explosion rang out above the chaotic demon sea, followed by a terrifying blast that engulfed the entire sea. The shockwave caused a massive water pit, hundreds of thousands of feet deep, which could not be filled no matter how much surrounding seawater rushed in. Swish! Swish! Two figures shot out from the center of the explosion and stabilized themselves midair. At this point, Elder Hua Mu's clothes were a little tattered, and he looked at Lin Dong with a grim expression. He had thought that without resorting to the sacred drum technique, he could easily crush Lin Dong. But now, Lin Dong was able to contend with him using only his physical strength. Lin Dong, on the other hand, retracted his arms, which were still covered with dragon scales, and looked at Elder Hua Mu without a change in expression. "Elder Hua Mu, You don't mean this is all the power you have, right? Hearing this, Elder Hua Mu snorted coldly. Nonsense. I haven't even used half of my power yet. Then show it to me. After all, I don't want to defeat an Elder Hua Mu who hasn't used his full strength, Lindong said. If I'm not mistaken, you're also a heavenly grade battle formation master. Want to play with battle intent? Fine. But with the pitiful strength of just 1/10 of the Sacred Drum Elder's level, don't regret it, Elder Hua Mu retorted. Lindong smiled faintly. Don't worry. Whatever Sacred Drum Heavenly Sovereign can do, I'll make sure to replicate. Above the vast chaotic demon sea, the sea water surged wildly toward a gigantic pit on the surface of the sea, trying to fill it. When Elder Hua Mu realized that his spiritual energy was insufficient to overcome Lindong, he flipped his hand and took out a spiritual disc the size of a palm. He then threw the disc into the air. Buzz. As the spiritual disc flew from Elder Hua Mu's hand, it began to emit a strange spiritual glow. The disc expanded rapidly, and in just a few breaths, it grew to an enormous size of 100,000 feet. The disc hovered behind Elder Hua Mu, slowly rotating, and seemed to resonate with the surrounding space and the heavens themselves. This was not the first time Lindong had witnessed such a scene. Over 4 months ago, when he fought the Ice Spirit Clan's Guardian Army on the Ice Spirit Continent, the Cold Sky King, a Grade War Formation Master, also used a heavenly battle disc to battle Lindong. That was an ancient treasure of the Ice Spirit Clan, and when used with a War Formation Master, it unleashed terrifying power. However, this time, with Lindong's profound understanding of artifacts, he quickly realized that the spiritual disc in Elder Hua Mu's hand was not a crafted weapon. Judging by the fluctuations from the disc, it seemed to be a part of Elder Hua Mu himself. This was an item known as the Fated Battle Disc. The Great Thousand Worlds were vast and endless, and the path to becoming a powerful being was not limited to simply cultivating spiritual energy. For example, a spirit formation master could arrange spiritual formations and use their power to fight. A weapon refiner could forge powerful spiritual weapons, divine tools, and even treasures, gaining significant battle strength. A war formation master was also one of the paths to power. At the initial stages, a war formation master could synchronize the army and materialize battle intent to release power comparable to a heavenly supreme expert. At this stage, the army had to consist of people with extremely high synergy. However, even with immense battle intent, the formation was limited to under 1 million patterns. The biggest weakness was that the army could be attacked and destroyed at any time, causing severe backlashes from the battle intent. Starting at 1 million patterns, one could become a heavenly tier war formation master, operating on a completely different level. At this tier, there was no need for an ordinary battle army. The source of the battle intent was the heavens and earth themselves. Of course, like the sacred drum method, it was impossible to simply use the forces of heaven and earth at will, but a heavenly tier war formation master could resonate with the forces of nature based on the attributes of their cultivation and turn them into battle intent. To achieve this, a heavenly tier war formation master needed a vessel to bear the battle intent, which was derived from their heavenly soul. This vessel was called the Fated Battle Disc. The Fated Battle Disc was the vessel that carried the battle intent of the heavens and earth. Boom. As Elder Hua Mu summoned his Fated Battle Disc, the surrounding world immediately linked with it. Dark clouds soon covered the sky of the chaotic demon sea, and thunder rumbled. Fierce winds began to howl, and the waves on the sea grew wilder. The heavy atmosphere enveloped the entire chaotic demon sea, turning it into a terrifying battlefield. This was the power of a heavenly tier war formation master. Just by summoning the Fated Battle Disc, the entire realm was altered. What a terrifying power. Is this battle intent? Elder Hua Mu is also a war formation master? A war formation master? Then where is his army? I don't see one. What army? Don't you know the ancient legend? Some super war formation masters with the power to move the heavens and earth can directly summon battle intent from the very world itself. Battle intent from the heavens and earth? The world itself has battle intent? Heh, the great thousand worlds are full of wonders. Just watch and see. As the heavens and earth of the chaotic demon sea shifted, many powerful beings outside the sea looked on in astonishment. Meanwhile, the situation above the sea continued to evolve. Elder Hua Mu moved swiftly and directly retreated to the center of his fated battle disc, where he sat cross-legged. Sitting at the center of the fated battle disc, Elder Hua Mu looked at Lin Dong, who remained calm and seemingly unfazed by the battle intent drawn from the heavens and earth. Child, now that the space of this world has changed like this, I can no longer keep it sealed. To make things fair, you should also use the heavenly battle intent method that the old sacred drum master taught you. Lin Dong heard the words and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He then stepped back, maintaining a certain distance from Elder Hua Mu. Taking a deep breath, Lin Dong retracted the surging true dragon power back into his body. However, at the same time, a chilling battle intent surged in his eyes. Buzz. At this moment, above the four profound continent, a protective spiritual formation had been activated, blocking the eastern side of the continent. The vast formation, covering millions of miles of sky, was an overwhelming visual shock. As the protective formation activated, a thunderous sound of battle drums, which could shake the heavens and earth, echoed from the center of the chaotic demon sea. Boom! The deafening sound of the battle drums shook the air, and just hearing it made one's heart pound. The source of the sound was none other than Lin Dong, who had activated the sacred drum technique. At that moment, centered on Lin Dong, the seawater within a radius of several 100,000 miles was swirling into massive, earth-shattering water tornadoes. When these tornadoes exploded, what appeared around Lin Dong were thousands of gigantic sea dragons, each exuding a mighty aura that seemed capable of shaking the heavens and earth. Thousands of sea dragons howled across the sky and earth. This spectacle was even more visually striking than the effect triggered by Elder Hua Mu's activation of his life battle intent plate. As these sea dragons coiled around Lin Dong, waves of powerful battle intent, akin to the overwhelming force of the heavens themselves, burst forth from them. This was the supreme battle intent of the world itself. Unlike Elder Hua Mu, who relied on his life battle intent plate as the vessel for his battle intent power, Lin Dong did not need such a tool. The heavens not only provided him with the battle intent power, but also supported him in wielding it. Haha, this is the power. This is the power I fought against back in the day. As Lin Dong gathered the seawater into thousands of giant dragons and unleashed the supreme battle intent, Elder Hua Mu, sitting on his life battle intent plate, did not show any sign of fear. Instead, he was filled with extreme excitement. With a raised hand, Elder Hua Mu pointed at Lin Dong. Boom! With just a light gesture, the space centered on Elder Hua Mu's life battle intent plate began to twist wildly. Terrifying battle intent power began to seep out of this distorted space. Though each thread of power was not particularly strong, the sheer quantity of it was staggering. If every thread that seeped out from the space was considered a stream, then what resulted was an ocean of battle intent, vast and endless. All the battle intent power drawn out from the space by Elder Hua Mu condensed into a massive battle intent spear, more than 100,000 feet long. The power radiating from it caused those observing from afar, such as the ancestor of the myriad seas, to shudder. With their strength, even a mere touch could lead to death or severe injury. At this moment, Elder Hua Mu was far more terrifying than when he previously used the heavenly spirit power. Child, take this first blow. After condensing the battle intent spear, Elder Hua Mu roared, then swung his hand. The massive battle intent spear shot across the sky, aiming directly at Lin Dong. Facing the incoming battle intent spear, Lin Dong narrowed his eyes. As a battle formation master, he could clearly sense that Elder Hua Mu's current battle intent power was already on par with a higher heavenly supreme expert. However, this level was still far from enough. In fact, Lin Dong knew where Elder Hua Mu's problem lay. The latter had been saved by the sacred drum heavenly sovereign many years ago, but had instead regarded the sovereign as a lifelong goal to surpass. However, that goal vanished with the fall of the sacred drum heavenly sovereign during the world-ending war. Lin Dong knew that since the world-ending war, Elder Hua Mu had not cultivated at all, entering a complete state of decay. What Lin Dong needed to do now was to mercilessly defeat Elder Hua Mu, just like the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign had done in the past. Only then might the Elder break free from this state of decay. Boom. The battle intent spear, formed by the spatial battle intent power and carrying a force that even higher Heavenly Supreme experts feared, finally reached 100,000 feet in front of Lin Dong. At this moment, Lin Dong raised his hand and slammed it down fiercely. Boom. The sound of battle drums rang out once again across the chaotic demon sea. As everyone was shocked by the sound, the thousands of sea dragons that had coiled around Lin Dong had already condensed the battle intent of the heavens and earth into a gigantic tidal wave. The wave was not made of seawater, nor was it composed of heavenly spiritual energy. And just like that, a wave that seemed like it could be pierced by the immense battle intent spear at any moment, when it collided with the spear, actually tore it apart and shattered it in a way that even Elder Hua Mu couldn't believe. How is this possible? Seeing his battle intent spear, which he had painstakingly condensed, shattered so easily, Elder Hua Mu's heart trembled. However, at this moment, Lin Dong had no intention of stopping. Lin Dong took a step forward, and his fist directly struck the void in front of him. There, the space transformed into a drum surface, and with it came the third sound of the heavenly drum. Boom. As the third drum sound resonated, the millions of dragons behind Lin Dong began to roar, and then the battle intent of heaven and earth crazily condensed, transforming into an even more terrifying force than the previous battle wave. It was a battle intent spear covered in dragon scales. Elder Hua Mu, you gave me a spear. I'll give you a spear in return. Lin Dong stared at Elder Hua Mu and said in a deep voice. As his words fell, the dragon-scaled battle intent spear, filled with overwhelming battle intent, shattered the space and pierced toward Elder Hua Mu. In that instant, the entire battlefield fell into complete silence. The terrifying strike, condensed with the battle intent of heaven and earth, crushed the space as it pierced toward Elder Hua Mu. Clearly, Lin Dong had shown no mercy, and the Elder, seated in his life's battle intent wheel, could feel the deadly threat coming from that battle intent spear. Such a strike could easily wound a top-tier Heavenly Supreme expert. Initially, Elder Hua Mu had judged from Lin Dong's achievements in the Ice Spirit clan that Lin Dong's understanding of the battle intent of heaven and earth was only at 1/10 the level of the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign. But now, Elder Hua Mu realized his miscalculation. The battle intent power Lin Dong was unleashing was far beyond the 1/10 level of the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign. Ha ha ha. However, facing the terrifying strike capable of severely injuring a top-tier Heavenly Supreme, Elder Hua Mu laughed heartily, his blood seemingly boiling. At the same time, the heaven and earth within 100,000 miles began to tremble violently, and more battle intent power surged from within. All the battle intent power within 100,000 miles that belonged to Elder Hua Mu was gathered onto his life's battle intent wheel. The power, a culmination of his full strength, ultimately transformed into a massive battle intent light cone, several tens of thousands of feet tall. The enormous battle intent light cone hovered above the life battle intent wheel, and terrifying waves of battle intent spread outward. Even powerful figures millions of miles away could feel the deadly danger, as if they were right there in the midst of it. They quickly retreated. Soon, the battle intent light cone gathered by Elder Hua Mu shot out with unstoppable force. Meanwhile, the battle intent spear from earlier also arrived. The two destructive powers collided above the chaotic demon sea, and in the following instant, everything in the heavens and earth seemed to fall into a profound silence. Boom. After the silence, a massive explosion echoed across the chaotic demon sea, and even powerful figures millions of miles away felt the space tremble. The experts who had retreated to the outer regions of the chaotic demon sea saw the two terrifying forces clash in the center. On one side was the battle intent light cone condensed by Elder Hua Mu, and on the other side, the battle intent spear wielded by martial ancestor Lin Dong. Due to the overwhelming power of both forces, no one could determine which was stronger. Some even tried to gauge the strength of each side based on the expressions of Lin Dong and Elder Hua Mu, but they had no way to judge. Lindong's face was calm, while Elder Hua Mu appeared strangely excited. But soon, the result became clear. The battle intent light cone that collided with the battle intent spear began to crack, with cracks spreading rapidly. It was clear that in this clash of battle intent, Elder Hua Mu was at a disadvantage. The many powerful figures outside the chaotic demon sea were stunned by this scene. Lindong's strength had far surpassed their expectations. No wonder martial ancestor dared to single-handedly enter the Ice Spirit clan. Bang! Just as everyone was stunned, a sound of space shattering echoed across the chaotic demon sea. The battle intent light cone could no longer withstand Lindong's power and was instantly crushed into pieces. At this moment, Elder Hua Mu still wore an excited expression, seemingly unbothered by the complete collapse of his battle intent. Perhaps this was the very outcome he had hoped for. However, as he laughed with excitement, a terrifying backlash surged within him. In truth, the battle intent he had just unleashed had exceeded his limits, and now that it had collapsed, the backlash was inevitable. Elder Hua Mu was an ancient figure, having lived for over tens of thousands of years. When such a backlash occurred within his body, the effects were even more pronounced. A mouthful of fresh blood spurted from his mouth, and within the blood, there were even some horrifying fragments. Lindong, standing across from him, witnessed this scene but could only sigh helplessly. Boom! As Elder Hua Mu spat out blood, a terrifying explosion spread across the chaotic demon sea. Lindong, located in the same area, immediately activated his heaven and earth battle intent to shield himself. However, Elder Hua Mu was not as fortunate. Having drained all the battle intent from within 100,000 miles, he had no choice but to quickly retract his life force battle intent and hastily summon the surrounding spiritual energy to protect himself. Yet, when the terrifying shockwave reached him, he was still sent flying, helpless, and spat out several more mouthfuls of blood. Elder Hua Mu. He was actually defeated in one strike by the martial ancestor. His strength is terrifying. Is this the power once wielded by the sacred drum heavenly sovereign? No wonder he is one of the top 10 super powerful experts. There will surely be major movements in the martial realm after this. As Elder Hua Mu's complete defeat unfolded, the chaotic demon sea was filled with the sound of uproar. However, when the terrifying storm swept toward their location, everyone immediately activated their protective energy shields to avoid being affected. This caused the outer edges of the chaotic demon sea to resemble a sky full of millions of flickering stars. The ancestor of the myriad seas and others could only watch in shock as the inner regions of the chaotic demon sea were consumed by destruction. The heavy dark clouds, which had been howling due to the heaven and earth battle intent, were directly forced to retreat millions of miles away. What remained was a shattered, apocalyptic world. Truly formidable youth. The ancestor of the myriad seas couldn't help but sigh, while silently preparing for something in his heart. On the 4 profound continents, due to the protective spiritual formation that had been set up in advance, all the aftershocks from the chaotic demon sea were completely blocked. However, the destruction that followed signaled to Yin and the others that this was no longer something that could be dealt with by a single defense formation. A towering tsunami, over 10,000 feet high, was rushing toward the 4 profound continents. Quickly, everyone on the continent, retreat to the high sky domain. Leave the continent. Seeing the monstrous tsunami rolling in, Yin immediately shouted at the martial experts around him and waved his hand to the many elders. Earth Supreme experts and above, come with me and help stop the wave. Upon hearing Yin's order, all the martial experts gathered at the edge of the 4 profound continents immediately rushed to the 4 corners of the continent. Those with flight abilities were quickly moved to an altitude above 100,000 feet, while those without such abilities took refuge in temporary protective shields. At the same time, under Yin and the others' commands, waves of sweeping attacks were continuously launched against the towering tsunami. Meanwhile, in the center of the chaotic demon sea, a disheveled figure was retreating at an astonishing speed. It was the defeated Elder Hua Mu. However, as he moved away from the epicenter of the explosion, spiritual energy quickly gathered behind him, forming a comfortable, soft golden chair. Bang! Elder Hua Mu fell directly into the golden chair, which absorbed the shock of his impact and stabilized his body. Yet, the appearance of the golden chair surprised him. It was not something he had summoned himself. His power had already weakened to its limits. Buzz. As Elder Hua Mu sat steadily on the golden chair, the space in front of him distorted, and a figure in black appeared. Upon seeing the black-clad figure, Elder Hua Mu immediately looked up. Standing in front of him was Lin Dong, who stood with his hands behind his back, his expression calm and indifferent. The two locked eyes for a moment. After a long pause, Elder Hua Mu finally sighed. "Sigh, I lost." "You should have won," Lin Dong replied lightly. "So what? In this vast world, apart from the old sacred drum, who else could ever stir my fighting spirit with their battle intent? But the old sacred drum is dead. Ha! And guess what? He died at the hands of a heavenly emperor from an extraterrestrial race. Haha, what is this heavenly emperor? Just a higher-tier heavenly supreme. Back in the day, none of those sacred emperors stood a chance in front of the old sacred drum. Ha ha ha. And yet he was taken down by a mere heavenly emperor." Elder Hua Mu said, a strange laugh escaping him. It was hard to tell whether it was filled with sorrow or schadenfreude. "As for that heavenly emperor, I erased him when I inherited the legacy of the sacred drum senior. From that time, it was clear that an outsider of that level could never defeat the sacred drum senior." Lin Dong replied, "So there must be something else behind the fall of the sacred drum senior. Forget it. Let those ancient matters go. Whether there's something fishy or not, I don't care anymore. My only interest now is to defeat you. If there's a next time, I will definitely be stronger, and I will defeat you, the heir of the old sacred drum." Elder Hua Mu's gaze turned slightly colder as he looked at Lin Dong. "Of course, you can choose to cripple me or kill me now, to ensure there are no future troubles." "I won't kill you," Lin Dong said indifferently to Elder Hua Mu. "Heh, then I can only hope that your choice is the right one." Elder Hua Mu chuckled in response. "There's no such thing as a right or wrong choice. Just because I won't kill you doesn't mean that the other battle formation masters in the Great Thousand World won't do it," Lin Dong said. "Oh? Are there still other heavenly-level battle formation masters in the Great Thousand World?" Elder Hua Mu was incredulous at Lin Dong's words. "Heh, you really are too arrogant, Elder Hua Mu. You've been secluded for tens of thousands of years and are completely unaware of the changes outside." Lin Dong sneered coldly. "Do you know that a person who broke through the shackles from a lower plane 1,000 years ago has now become the Undying Lord, a being that strikes fear in the hearts of all? And the battle intent of that Undying Lord is even above mine. I suspect it could rival a perfected heavenly supreme expert." "Undying Lord? Never heard of it." Elder Hua Mu dismissed Lin Dong's words, unwilling to believe that there could be any other battle formation master besides the sacred drum heavenly supreme who possessed power capable of rivaling a perfected heavenly supreme expert. Aside from the Undying Lord, there's also Imoku, a top-tier member of the younger generation from the Imoku God Clan. His battle intent is enough to shake the leaders of all factions at the Great Thousand Gathering. Lin Dong added, "Great Thousand Gathering?" This time, Elder Hua Mu looked slightly surprised. He knew that the Great Thousand Gathering was a grand event where all the top forces of the Great Thousand World, including the Ancient Divine Clan and the Myriad Spirit Divine Clan, would gather. There would be no less than dozens of heavenly supreme experts present. For someone named Imoku to shake the entire Great Thousand Gathering? That seemed unbelievable. "Elder Hua Mu, perhaps you should leave the Wandering Realm and explore the Great Thousand World. The world today is no longer the same as the one you knew," Lin Dong said. Upon hearing this, Elder Hua Mu's expression darkened slightly. Could what Lin Dong said be true? "You can go now. If you wish to spar with me again in the future, I'm always ready," Lin Dong told Elder Hua Mu. "Heh, that's yours to decide. When the time comes, I'll take your life as well," Elder Hua Mu sneered. "Wait until you have that kind of power," Lin Dong replied. "Wait, and one day, I will crush you, including your Undying Lord and Imoku. I will defeat them all," Elder Hua Mu said, standing up from the golden chair. He dragged his injured body and sword toward the distant sky. No strong expert dared to stop him. After all, even a wounded heavenly supreme was not someone an ordinary strong individual could provoke. After Elder Huamu left, Lin Dong looked around at the surrounding world. What he saw was a vast, ring-shaped tsunami caused by the explosion earlier. The scale of the tsunami was catastrophic, already spreading millions of miles outward. If it wasn't stopped, it could flatten and drown dozens of continents within tens of millions of miles. Faced with this situation, Lin Dong moved swiftly and appeared at the center of the ring-shaped tsunami. Under the chilling power unleashed by Lin Dong, the vast sea within a 10,000-mile radius immediately transformed into a white ice sheet. As the ice spread rapidly, more and more waves were frozen, until, after several dozen breaths, powerful experts from afar saw in horror that the entire chaotic demon sea had turned into ice. The towering tsunami that had once blotted out the sun was now frozen at the edge of the 4 profound continents. All the experts in the martial realm couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. After sealing the chaotic demon sea with ice, Lin Dong withdrew the snowflakes inscribed on his forehead and moved swiftly, heading toward the edge of the 4 profound continents. There, Yin and the others were confronted by a colossal ice wall, as though facing an impassable chasm. The massive wall, tens of thousands of feet tall, soon shattered into countless ice shards, and a figure in black attire floated towards them. It was Lin Dong. Seeing Lin Dong arrive, the martial realm experts were ecstatic. If not for his timely intervention, the entire 4 profound continent would have likely been swept away. Lin Dong descended from the sky and landed in front of Yin and the others, who hurried over to him. "Big brother, what about Elder Huamu?" Yin asked immediately. "I let him go," Lin Dong replied. "Let him go? That's too dangerous," Yin said, slightly surprised. Elder Huamu was powerful enough to destroy all the major factions in the Wandering Realm by himself. If he targeted the martial realm, the consequences would be dire. Elder Huamu meant no harm. He simply sought to find a stronger battle formation master to surpass, a man climbing the mountain he chose. "The fact that he could wait here quietly for 2 days already speaks volumes," Lin Dong said calmly. "Since it's your decision, big brother, it must be the right one." Yin finally smiled, trust evident in his expression. Lin Dong was not only his elder brother, but also his most revered person. "How is the Ice Spirit Clan matter progressing?" Diao asked at this moment. With the help of the Ice Spirit Clan, things went smoothly, but Huan might need to sleep for a while, Lin Dong said. "That's a pretty good outcome," He Luo King smiled, having already heard from Yin and Diao about Lin Dong's actions with the Ice Spirit Clan. What surprised him even more was how Lin Dong had grown so powerful in such a short time. He Luo King remembered that when Lin Dong was with the Black Spirit Clan, he was only at the Upper Earth Supreme level at most. Lin Dong cupped his hands towards He Luo King and the Black Spirit Clan experts. They had also provided help this time, or else the intimidation effect on the many powerful experts in the Wandering Realm wouldn't have been enough. "Since everything is settled, I shall return to the Black Spirit Clan. This victory is yours, martial ancestor. I wish you all the best," He Luo King said, offering a salute. Since Lin Dong had returned from the Ice Spirit Clan, the martial realm was now capable of deterring the entire Wandering Realm on its own. Just as He Luo King and the others were preparing to leave for the Black Spirit Clan, Lin Dong spoke again. "Senior He Luo, perhaps you can stay a little longer." Is there something you need from me?" He Luo King asked, puzzled. "It's just that there are some matters to attend to. Now that the leaders of most factions in the Wandering Realm are gathered here, it's an opportune moment. Plus, if you stay, it will be more convenient for me," Lin Dong explained. "An opportunity?" He Luo King raised an eyebrow, his gaze shifting toward the distant horizon, as if understanding something. After a pause, he said, "Being the supreme ruler isn't easy. Our Black Spirit Clan's experience in ancient times serves as a cautionary tale. Since the world-ending war, the Wandering Realm has been in constant turmoil. Factions have been battling for a place, and countless sects have been wiped out in the flames of war. The newly risen factions are trembling with fear, Lin Dong said, his eyes fixed on the millions of figures gathered in the distance. It's time to end this state of chaos. How do you plan to end it? He Luoking asked. Either by annexation or through contracts, Lin Dong replied, stepping forward. A booming voice then rang out from his mouth, reaching across the sky and echoing through the vast expanse. Everyone gathered here should be the representatives of various sections. Although you may have been forced here by Elder Hua Mu, it's a good opportunity with all of you gathered. I, Martial Ancestor, have something to announce. Lin Dong's voice, carrying the weight of authority, reverberated through the space, traveling with incredible speed across millions of miles to the horizon. It echoed in the ears of everyone who heard it, leaving the powerful individuals stunned and exchanging glances. Soon after, they all seemed to realize something, their expressions turning serious. The ancestor of the myriad seas and the two demon saints of the heavenly demon divine palace understood Lin Dong's intentions more clearly than anyone else. For forces of their caliber, the gravity of this matter was far greater than for other sects or factions. Has the day finally arrived? Sighed the ancestor of the myriad seas. Then, under the watchful eyes of many powerful individuals around him, he became the leader, taking the first step towards the four profound continents. Seeing this, the numerous powerful figures from the myriad seas domain hurriedly followed, with the myriad seas domain being one of the dominant powers in the current wandering realm. In addition to the ancestor of the myriad seas, the group included 6 Earth Supreme experts, making their departure a force to be reckoned with. The advance of the myriad seas domain signaled that nearly a quarter of the strongest individuals in the wandering realm had answered the martial ancestors' call. Since there's no avoiding it, let's see what kind of name the martial realm can make for itself, remarked the two demon saints of the heavenly demon divine palace as they led their powerful forces towards the four profound continents. I hope for a good outcome, said the leader of the Ximing demon clan indifferently, signaling to his clan members before heading towards the four profound continents. The swift response from the myriad seas domain, the heavenly demon divine palace, and the Ximing demon clan took many of the other powerful figures in the wandering realm by surprise, as this represented nearly 2/3 of the strongest powers in the region. Following the lead of the 3 major forces, other factions like the Heavenly Pill Manor, the Ancient Spirit Alliance, Flame Valley, the Primordial Gate, and 9 God Domain also quickly responded to the martial ancestors' call, making their way to the 4 profound continents. Even the Stellar Radiance Pavilion and the Titan Heavenly Domain, who had previously clashed with the martial realm, had no choice but to grit their teeth and join the fray. As for the Sun God Temple, it now only had one remaining Earth Supreme expert left to uphold its facade. The temple's master, having been struck into the deep sea by Elder Hua Mu, was still missing, with his fate unknown. Soon, millions of strong figures from the wandering realm gathered and surged toward the 4 profound continents. Many had already guessed the events that would soon unfold. Everyone knew that from this point onward, the wandering realm was about to change forever. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As they neared the 4 profound continents, the sound of tearing air filled the skies, and thousands upon thousands of figures appeared, swiftly cutting through the air from the distant horizon. Upon reaching a few hundred miles of the 4 profound continents, they stopped, turning their gaze towards the front. All eyes focused on a mountain peak at the edge of the 4 profound continents. There, a figure dressed in black stood tall against the wind. Because the entire chaotic demon sea had been frozen by the power of the Ice Ancestor seal, the wind was icy and sharp, an unmistakable sign of the Ice Ancestor's power. At this moment, millions of strong individuals had answered Lin Dong's call, and Lin Dong himself, calm and unhurried, watched as more and more figures arrived. At the forefront of the group were the ancestor of the myriad seas and other Earth Supreme experts, taking the lead. Yin and the others, along with He Luoking and other Black Spirit Clan experts, stood behind Lin Dong, all aware of what was about to unfold. The martial ancestor has gathered us all. Whatever the matter is, let's address it directly. Although I, and some others present, can already guess part of it, said the ancestor of the myriad seas, looking directly at Lin Dong. Since you already know what I seek, I won't beat around the bush, Lin Dong said, his voice steady. The Wandering Realm has countless sects, and for tens of thousands of years, war and conflict have raged. To outsiders, this region has become a land of disaster, and even some powerful individuals passing through would avoid this area. The cause of all this strife is the failure to unify the Wandering Realm. Now, the time has come for this situation to change. Lin Dong's voice echoed in the ears of everyone, and his words confirmed what they had all been thinking. Martial ancestor Lin Dong was truly about to begin the unification of the Wandering Realm. The ancestor of the myriad seas, the two demon saints of the heavenly demon divine palace, and the other powerful figures from various factions all grew solemn. They knew that if Lin Dong succeeded in unifying the Wandering Realm, the sects they currently controlled would cease to exist. However, this situation has now become a trend because there is no one who can stop the consolidation of the martial ancestor Lin Dong's unified force. Yet, aside from those strong individuals who are unwilling to submit, there are also a portion of them who, upon hearing Lin Dong's declaration, actually feel their spirits lifted. These powerful beings, who have long been living in a war-torn land, are constantly worried for their own lives. But now, if martial ancestor Lin Dong can unite the Wandering Realm and create the largest force or alliance the realm has seen in tens of thousands of years, it would signify the end of the war. Furthermore, if such a force, united under the Wandering Realm, is born, those strong beings who submit to it would have a powerful backing when they move to other parts of the Great Thousand Worlds. According to the rules of the Wandering Realm, the strong prey on the weak. If you want to dominate one side, forcing the 100 clans and myriad sects to bow to you, you must possess enough power to make everyone submit. The previous Elder Hua Mu had such strength but was defeated by you. So, if you wish to unite the Wandering Realm, our heavenly demon divine palace acknowledges we fall short compared to the martial realm. However, I wonder, martial ancestor, how do you plan to unify the Wandering Realm? A faint chuckle rang out, and everyone turned their gaze toward the source of the voice. To their surprise, it was one of the two saints of the heavenly demon divine palace, the heavenly demon saint. Upon hearing the heavenly demon saint's words, many of the surrounding powerful beings were secretly astonished. The heavenly demon divine palace had been one of the overlords of the Wandering Realm for over 1,000 years, so its arrogance was no secret. Yet now, facing the power of the martial realm, they immediately chose to submit. This wasn't due to the heavenly demon divine palace lacking backbone, but rather because they recognized the situation at hand. Indeed, as the heavenly demon saint said, if the martial realm truly wishes to unite this region, we naturally cannot obstruct it. The only question is, martial ancestor Lin Dong, how do you intend to allocate and settle the forces present here? Just as the heavenly demon saint of the heavenly demon divine palace expressed their willingness to submit to the martial realm, another voice came from the crowd. This time, it was the ancestor of the myriad seas. When both the heavenly demon saint and the ancestor of the myriad seas raised their concerns, everyone turned their attention once again to the figure standing atop the mountain peak, awaiting his response. Meanwhile, Yin and others in the back were also looking at Lin Dong. What Lin Dong was facing now was not just about unifying the factions, but figuring out how to allocate them fairly. What was even more concerning was that the various forces present were already at odds with one another. If Lin Dong merged them directly, internal conflicts would inevitably arise, posing many potential dangers. Facing the concerns of the crowd, Lin Dong remained calm. He directly stated, "You all know the rules of the Wandering Realm. Strength rules all. Therefore, I hereby declare in the name of the martial realm that, from this moment on, all the continents, seas, and even the sky domains of the Wandering Realm now belong to the martial realm. So, do you all know your status now?" Lin Dong's words caught everyone off guard. His tone was filled with undeniable authority, which made many of the powerful beings feel an overwhelming force. As Lin Dong had said, in this region where strength prevails, the martial realm now held dominion over everything. As long as the martial realm desired it, the Wandering Realm would become their backyard. And the people present were now merely outsiders, fighting within the backyard of the martial realm. Lin Dong had spoken so decisively, leaving no room for any of the sects in the Wandering Realm to retreat. Before, the leaders of these sects had been pondering how Lin Dong would allocate power among them, but now Lin Dong had directly claimed the entire Wandering Realm as the Martial Realm's territory, making it seem like Lin Dong intended to expel everyone. Since Martial Ancestor has declared that everything in the Wandering Realm belongs to the Martial Realm, should we, the outsiders, now leave? The Ancestor of the Myriad Seas narrowed his eyes, looking at Lin Dong, and asked, "If anyone present wishes to leave, you are free to do so at any time. The Martial Realm will not stop you. However, anyone who dares to enter the Wandering Realm again will be regarded as an invasion of territory," Lin Dong replied coldly. As Lin Dong's words fell, the entire venue fell into silence. Everyone exchanged glances, for none of them had expected Lin Dong to dismiss them so casually, even planning to expel them all from the Wandering Realm. "Martial Ancestor, this is a bit too much." A voice laced with anger echoed through the crowd, and soon a figure floated out. It was a middle-aged man, and to everyone's surprise, the one speaking was actually the Grand Elder of the Sun God Temple, a faction that already had friction with the Martial Realm. "Ha ha ha, I don't care about my life anymore. Today, in front of so many people, I'm going to reason with you, Martial Ancestor." The Elder of the Sun God Temple, floating out from the crowd, directly pointed at Lin Dong, who stood atop the mountain peak, with a furious expression. Upon seeing this, the surrounding people couldn't help but sweat for the middle-aged man. After all, the power gap between him and Martial Ancestor was simply too great. Earlier, Elder Hua Mu had easily crushed the Temple Master of the Sun God Temple with a slap, and this elder, who was only a lower Earth Supreme, would probably be unable to withstand even the heavenly pressure of Martial Ancestor. As the middle-aged man stepped forward, some powerful figures nearby hurriedly stepped back, fearing that they would be caught in the wrath of Martial Ancestor Lin Dong. "All right, you want to reason with me? I'll let you talk." However, just when everyone thought that Lin Dong would act and suppress the Elder of the Sun God Temple, he instead placed his hands behind his back and spoke calmly to the middle-aged man. "So, what do you want to say? Go ahead." "Fine. Today I'll gamble my life and have a word with you. Although you, Martial Ancestor, possess world-shattering power and could dominate the Wandering Realm, the sects gathered here include the former Upper Three Masters, the Lower Nine Masters like my Sun God Temple, and thousands of other sections. We've fought in the Wandering Realm for hundreds, or even thousands of years to obtain everything we have today. Yet, with a single word, you, Martial Ancestor, want to drive us all out." The middle-aged man looked at Lin Dong, his voice echoing in the ears of everyone nearby. "If you are set on doing this, I don't know about the others, but my Sun God Temple will definitely fight to the death to protect our sect." As the middle-aged man's words spread, most of the powerful figures gathered on the edge of the Four Profound Continent lowered their heads in silence. Just as he said, they had fought for so many years in the Wandering Realm to build up what they had, and now, Martial Ancestor Lin Dong's words threatened to burn everything they had worked for to the ground. This was truly hard to accept. "Heh, fought for years to get all this, and now you think I will just drive you out?" Just as many of the strong figures began to acknowledge the words of the Elder of the Sun God Temple, Lin Dong, standing atop the mountain peak, let out a cold laugh. Then, the next moment, everyone saw Lin Dong flick his finger, and a burst of spiritual energy gathered in the sky, forming a glowing barrier covered in dense words. However, when the middle-aged man and some of the Sun God Temple's strong figures saw the text on the barrier, their expressions changed drastically. The barrier contained the following details: established the temple for 30 years, destroyed the 9 Dragons Mansion, obtained 8 top-grade treasures, 6 million supreme spiritual liquid, established the temple for 54 years, destroyed the Jiao clan, obtained 8 million supreme spiritual liquid, established the temple for 172 years, destroyed the Xianhuang Gate, established the temple for 2,885 years, destroyed the Iron Dragon Temple, obtained a continent, 7.9 million supreme spiritual liquid. The dazzling text on the barrier caused the surrounding strong figures to tremble. At this moment, No one needed any explanation to understand that the barrier recorded the history of the Sun God Temple since its founding. The strong figures of the Sun God Temple were turning red with anger. They had no idea how Lin Dong had obtained these records, as even within the Sun God Temple, such events had long been sealed away by the higher-ups, out of reach for ordinary people. Since some people think that with a single sentence, I can burn away everything you have worked for over the millennia, let me ask you this. When you destroyed these forces, did you ever stop to think about such words? Lin Dong looked at the Sun God Temple's strong figures, who were now at a loss for words. The records shown on the barrier were what he had seen earlier when using the spirit conduction formation to scan a wide area in the I Spirit clan. Now, there was nothing in the wandering realm that Lin Dong didn't know. Faced with Lin Dong's pointed words, the many strong figures from the Sun God Temple, led by the middle-aged man, fell silent. Even the powerful figures who had previously been leaning towards supporting the Sun God Temple could only choose to remain silent. The ancestor of the myriad seas and others exchanged glances, knowing that from this point on, everything in the wandering realm was now under the control of the youth named martial ancestor Lin Dong. Now, does anyone else wish to ask the same question? As everyone fell silent, Lin Dong spoke again. If there are no more questions, then from this moment on, there are two paths in front of you. First, take your forces and leave the wandering realm immediately, never to return. Second, anyone who wishes to stay must join the martial realm. Lin Dong's voice echoed across the sky, and at that moment,